and welcome to this Car Pod.
I am Kennan.
I'm Filippo.
And let's do the news, starting with that. The Ram TRX. It has been revealed / leaked this week that the Ram TRX may return with a V8 as early as next year.
Hell yeah,
the
brother.
new CEO is doing things already.
I will say, I drove the Ram R8, which was the, not replacement for the TRX, but sort of the more downscale replacement.
Kind of labeled as that, though. When they came out, it was like, we don't want to have a TRX. We will have this.
Well, their thinking was they wanted to compete directly with the Raptor, where the Raptor gets more sales, which honestly made sense. But it would be cooler still if they had both a TRX, which competed with the Raptor R, and an R8, which competed with the Raptor. I loved the R8. However, it would be cool if the TRX came back. Now, will it come back with the Hellcat V8 and 700 whatever horsepower? There's no details. This leaked out of a dealer meeting, I think.
Yeah.
So we don't know anything. But it would be interesting if Chrysler started coming back to the V8 fold. Let's bring them back.
There was a related news story where there was some quote from some FCA executive saying that they had previously said there weren't going to be V8 chargers of any kind. They haven't actually ruled that out anymore.
Right. We reported on that a couple of weeks ago. They're clearly starting to
rethink,
reverse course on a few things. Well, regardless of the whole emissions EV political thing, when your sales numbers go where theirs went, and when your day's supply goes where theirs has gone, you have to make different strategic decisions.
And when you already have a V8 that just kind of is there.
And that people love. And it was beloved.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Stuff it in the Ram.
Decisions must be made.
This is the signal, Jerry. This is the signal.
In order to save the company. And so they will save the company. And you know what? Filippo and I will both buy, mark our words, we will both buy Hellcat-powered two-door Wranglers.
I can think of,
I would.
Could you imagine if such a vehicle existed? Did you ever drive the 392?
No, sadly.
We drove the V8 Defender two-door, and that was sketchy.
Yeah, but I always thought the 392 wasn't enough.
What?
You felt the Wrangler 392 wasn't enough? What would you, it had 470 horsepower. What would you prefer?
707.
You want the Hellcat?
I want the Hellcat.
You wanted it all.
I want it all.
Okay.
Okay, but anyway, this is interesting and continues to go along with the theme we've now been reporting about for like 2 months, which is more automakers kind of easing off the whole EV plug-in hybrid thing and easing back to V8s.
What a sound.
You like that?
No.
Okay, speaking of V8s, move on to the next news story.
Well, that doesn't have anything to do with V8s, but...
Who knows what motor Formula One is running now? It's probably a 1.2-liter one-cylinder.
No, they're power units, and they're twin turbocharged hybrid V6s. But we'll move on.
Like the NSX.
So I'm not a Formula One fan.
Explain the story.
In my day, Career GT, Formula One had V10s. That's all I'm saying.
Keep dreaming, bud.
In my day. Cadillac is back is going into Formula One, and I have decided. Therefore, here's the big news story: I'm going to be a Formula One fan.
Wow.
Yeah,
they're not going to re-enter until 26.
I know. You being the...
We all know all this stuff because we talked about it beforehand.
Yes, but as the actual Formula One fan, you're not even a fair weather fan. You only like
America's here, and so am I.
Well, Haas F1's been here for a long time, but we'll move on.
Haas, that sounds German. Not interested.
Yep, Gene Haas, a NASCAR dynasty. How does be German? What? You know so little about motorsport, it hurts.
What do you think with avocado?
Well, I know everything about kart.
Oh my God!
IMSA?
He just gets little glimpses of things and holds on to them as his motorsport.
But it's enough a lot of the time to make it seem like I'm not an idiot. Now, on this podcast, it's not enough, and I do seem like an idiot. But when I'm in conversation, I'm like, oh yeah, IMSA, turned 7 over at the motorsports park. People are like, oh.
I know. Right, yeah. Anyway, yes, Cadillac it's been officially confirmed that Cadillac will be entering Formula One as the 11th team on the grid. So, which is a big deal. To get into Formula One is incredibly difficult, very expensive, and highly political. But Cadillac has done it. Ferrari will be providing the engines as they had announced earlier. But they, of course, were like, if they're confirmed, it was like, we kind of had a good feeling they were going to be confirmed.
This isn't Ferrari's doing the engines? There's not going to be a North Star in these cars?
No North Star V8s. It won't be that.
Oh, yeah.
Cadillac, GM has said that they will develop an engine for the car eventually, but it's really hard to do. So they're going to start with, they will be one of the customer suppliers.
General Motors is going to develop a Formula One engine in suburban Detroit. Think about that.
Yeah.
Brave New World. It shows you how exciting and how popular Formula One has gotten.
Yeah. Netflix changed everything.
Liberty Media, specifically, yes. The
Netflix
show,
and other things, had a huge effect, and now everybody's into this. Why isn't Porsche in Formula One yet?
Porsche was like going back and forth. Is my understanding. I don't really know why not. Admittedly, don't. Just to your Carrera GT's engine point, they don't have the best track record in Formula One.
Well, but you think Cadillac does?
No track record is better than a bad track record.
Yes,
you get my point, though. Like, this is now the stage, and everybody's watching. Yeah, it's not like where like Le Mans used to be a thing, and maybe you could compete at GT racing. And Formula One is everybody's watching.
True, yes, but to your point, Le Mans has also grown substantially in popularity, and Porsche's just putting more effort. I mean, Formula One.
We want to see Porsche and Formula One going up against Cadillac and Ferrari.
I think
watching
also Audi is like going to be entering Formula One. So I think Porsche's like Volkswagen is like that's.
You know what we got to do? We got to stop having teams that aren't cars and start having only car teams.
Yep.
So Red Bull, I still don't really understand
Unless they
that.
make the cars. They could start making cars. They would have
They were going to make that supercar, weren't they? That like hypercar?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, one of 6.
Didn't they have some news about hoping to have an American driver?
No, they said they wouldn't hire an American driver just because he's American. They're going to hire their best driver.
Which is the absolute right decision.
They're not going to do DEI.
Not going to DEI.
Can I ask you a question about this?
Yes.
I'm looking at the picture of the Formula One car, and to be frank with you, this is the first time I've looked at a Formula One car in probably 5 years. This bar right in front of the driver's face strikes me as an issue because if I'm driving the car, I'd prefer there not to be a bar right in front of my face.
Well, now that was the debate when the halo was added to the car.
So the debate was the drivers don't want a bar in front of their face. What was the other side of the debate? Pray tell.
That it saves lives, and it does.
Why not put the pillars here and here or something?
Evidently, this is the most aerodynamic and structurally sound way to do it.
So they're saving lives by reducing visibility.
But it hasn't been a problem. It's been that way for years now, and drivers have gotten used to it, and B, they just don't complain about it. IndyCar is the same way; they use the same thing. So, but the Halo has legitimately saved lives. I've watched it save lives, like while racing. So, like, it's a big deal. And yes, although it is not the prettiest thing, and yes, it is directly in front of you. Evidently, it's not really a problem.
I am legitimately and honestly excited for Cadillac's arrival in Formula One. I don't think I will actually become a fan, but like every weekend, I might say to you, "Hey, man, how'd Cadillac do?"
Are you going to ask me?
I'll ask you. I don't know how to look it up, so I'm going to ask you.
Oh, it's very easy.
We probably just Google F1 results, but then it says stuff like such and such driver, and I don't know who people are.
Because you won't actually watch the racing.
No, it's a lot of time.
It's also early or late, depending.
Yeah, but you can watch it back, which is what I usually do. I stay off social media until I've watched the race, and then I go back on social media.
The first race is
I thought you were off Formula One.
No, I was off last year because it was clear in May that Max Verstappen was going to win the championship, which I called, and my friends were like, "That's ridiculous. It could still happen." Well, guess what happened? He won the championship. What a big surprise! And I said, despite being a Ferrari fan my entire life, I said Ferrari was going to lose, and guess what? Kennan was right again. So this year, though, I am watching it because I'm very excited. We'll come to it relates to a story we'll tell a little bit later, but Lewis Hamilton is driving for Ferrari, I think. And this 2026 is a big year because that's when the regulations change. There's every now and again, Formula One updates everything. They update the rules and the technicalities and stuff that the teams have to partake in order to compete. That all changes for 26. That's when Cadillac is joining. This year's kind of a throwaway year because they're putting all their R&D toward next year to be competitive.
I'll tell you this.
Kind of a refresh. So
it's not a throwaway for Lewis.
It's not a throwaway for Lewis Hamilton, but yes. But nonetheless, I am excited. I will be watching all the races. The first race is this weekend, Saturday night. It's in Melbourne, Australia, which was where they've started traditionally for a while now.
Can I ask you a question?
Post-COVID, yes.
What if Cadillac wins the championship? Is that still a Ferrari win? Do you understand what I'm saying?
As an engine supplier?
As an engine supplier. Would you be like Ferrari won because Cadillac won?
No, I'm not that much of a jerk. I would say the Cadillac won. I mean, I would say Cadillac won.
Cadillac wins.
But there would be a little asterisk for me. But I'll tell you this. I bet you they don't win on their first season. I don't think any team has ever.
Do you think it's a little weird that Cadillac is going incredibly hard into this competitive, high-performance sport without a vehicle to sell to anybody who's watching?
CT5 V Blackwing, CT4 V Blackwing, Escalade V, Escalade IQL.
Escalade IQL. Yep. No, but I mean, really, like the V Blackwings aren't the correct answer. But they're pretty low production, and you can't imagine.
Maybe they'll change.
Oh. Okay.
Heard it here first.
Speaking of Halo sports cars, our next news story is the Audi R8. This is an old Audi R8. Drove by an Audi dealer in San Diego yesterday. They still got one.
What?
Yikes. And I'll tell you something. Interest rates where they are and the stock market where it is, I ain't going anywhere for a while. This is a Lamborghini John Temerian. And Audi reportedly is going to make an R8 based on the Temerian. Now, this is not a surprise because the last 2 generations of R8 have also been based on the Lamborghinis, the Gallardo and the Huracan. And so they're going to do it again.
But I thought the R8 was gone.
They said that the last R8 was last, but they didn't. They left the door open that it could come back.
The R8 was the most successful Halo car I can think of.
Yeah, it's
The
just
first gen specifically.
the first gen. The way
after that point, it was
the way
whatever.
it got successful was a formula that they can no longer do, trying to work economies of scale. Because ultimately, the John Temerian is going to cost $350 grand.
Temerario, yeah.
And so this will cost $275 grand. The R8 when it came out in 08 was 90 grand or 98 or something. Like. And I know there's been inflation, but there hasn't been 4x. Like this car, because they need to share the parts with Lambo, has become so expensive that it no longer does what it did. But what it did was big.
It was big, but also, what does a Halo car do for Audi now? I don't.
They're
It's still
established now, yeah.
It's still cool in the showrooms.
It is still cool in the show.
And what it'll have
Mercedes
undoubtedly, what it'll have undoubtedly is a plug-in powertrain, and they're desperately trying to sell electric cars.
That's a great point.
And so that'll be
Yeah, if they go
beneficial.
more in on that.
All right, give us our next news story, please. Ah, yes.
Nissan.
A man standing in front of a Nissan.
Which means it's Filippo's story.
Yeah, Nissan has a new CEO. So you guys may remember that there were talks of a merger with Honda. Started as a merger of equals, quickly became Nissan could be a subsidiary. Nissan very much backed away. The CEO that orchestrated that is now gone. Makoto Uchida left last week.
What's this fellow's name?
This fellow's name is Ivan Espinoza. He is Mexican-born.
Yeah.
And he was formerly something senior in operations, the director of global planning, stuff like that. Sorry, chief planning officer.
It's amazing to me that these companies that fail continue to promote from within. Director of global planning for Nissan.
Right.
Is he responsible for giving us the absolute disaster of an Altima for the last 5 generations?
I mean, probably, but I will say there's a lot of auto enthusiasts that are somewhat excited because he is known to be more into enthusiast cars. He said a couple years ago that he was working really hard to make a return of the Silvia happen, which was Nissan's 2-door sporty coupe. He was trying to orchestrate that because he really cares about enthusiasts and enthusiasts driving the brand forward.
Is he the one that let the GTR languish for the last 19 years without any updates?
I don't know. The question is that, right? Like, how much power did he have that did he not have that he now has to do what he wants, or is that just what he wants?
The question is, and we're getting a little technical here, and Kennan's not going to like it, but does the board want the merger, and do they feel that this person is merger?
There have been
is merger likely?
I will say there have been some rumors and some like leaks to reporters saying that the mergers could be back on the table, but when the board voted him in, they, at least in what they announced publicly and what has been revealed about that board meeting, they did not talk at all about the merger.
I'm going to tell you right now. The merger's happening.
The merger's back on, at least. It's back in contention in a way it wasn't before.
No. I'm telling you right now. I'm not saying it's back on based on what you're reading in the paper. I'm telling you this merger's happening. Nissan will fail without it because it is a failure of a company and has been my entire adult life.
The 03 Altima?
The 03 Altima I was a child, but it changed the world. And it was 02.
And it was still a failure, for being honest.
No, it was successful.
Yeah.
That car changed the whole world because everybody had to copy that car.
And
it's the only time in history that everybody copied Nissan. The Maxima came
so
out.
There are two options, right? Clearly, if you fire the board because your stock tanked after you withdrew from merger negotiations, you probably want to either do something that makes the market think that you're serious about rebuilding the brand or that you're serious about the merger. It could be a little bit either.
I'm telling you, the merger is this company cannot continue to succeed.
Yeah, because of a lot of lease obligations.
It's a 9th-rate company making 11th-rate cars.
You know their big mistake over the last couple of years.
I can name so many.
That impacts their finances because they do still sell cars, but their residuals are so far off of what they modeled. I'm oversimplifying a little bit, but they have a real problem as a result.
You know what's funny about Nissan? I'll never forget when they came out with an electric car before anybody else. Remember this? In fall of 2010, they came out with the Leaf, and the world has changed. A mass market electric car is here. And you know, after all these years, you know what electric cars Nissan has? There's the Leaf.
There's another one.
And I think you want to say the Aria. You think that 15 years of R&D got us the Aria. I got a buddy who just leased an Aria for $199 a month with 0 down. Okay,
that's what I think all Aria leases are.
That's a cell phone bill.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're not.
They got a car. It's a good deal, actually. There's tires and stuff.
As part of some of their press releases, Nissan has taken a bunch of steps to apparently make product development less expensive and faster, which is a
they're going to make even worse
for
car.
Quality. There's going to be a merger.
So so it's great that they have an enthusiast who
merger is a strong word. There's going to be an a transition.
There's going to be
great that they have an enthusiast who is at a senior position, but that doesn't really mean anything if the company doesn't make any money.
Yep.
So like
they're going to make money because they're going to be part of Honda, and Honda makes money, so it's all going to work out great.
Well, Honda's just, you got to imagine, just going to kind of.
And then we'll see economies of scale. Maybe there'll be a Honda GTR.
It is one thing that is interesting. First time that somebody at Nissan from North America is in charge.
Well, North America has been a resounding success story, so it's great. Yeah. Move on.
I will say one thing on that. We're Nissan's only market, let's be honest.
Japan, Asia. They sell in Asia. You can go to Asia. There's Nissans everywhere. It's the only place they sell.
Growth market.
And Australia.
There may be something there.
And Mexico, which this guy's seeing Tsurus around his whole life. They're like, give the Tsuru guy the reins.
Right. I mean, it's been the same for the last 30 years.
All right, give us the next news story. Before we move on, let me tell you about Ridge. My old wallet was a massive aging leather hunk of junk, and I thought there was something sentimental about lugging around a massive wallet I had been using for many years. But after it was beginning to really fall apart, I was ready for an upgrade, and I chose Ridge with a unique, slim, modern design that holds up to 12 cards plus cash, and it's made with premium car enthusiasty materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. Plus, there are over 50 colors to choose from. All Ridge products have a lifetime warranty too, so this is literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. Additionally, I walk around with peace of mind knowing that the Ridge wallet has RFID blocking technology, keeping my information safe from digital pickpocketers. Also, Ridge isn't just about wallets. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all of their products. Right now, Ridge is having their once-a-year anniversary sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/Doug. Just go to ridge.com/Doug to see their biggest sale of the year. And after you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Please. Oh, this was a great one. Who's talking about this?
All right. We can share it.
Trump and Elon were selling cars at the White House, folks. This is good content. This is good. God, the White House, the most storied building in the world, and this is the crappy awning they come up with.
Right.
The crappy temporary awning supported by metal poles.
All right. I think we should give a little bit of context.
Historic building.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. The most powerful leaders in the world have been near this thing, and the best they can come up with is something that looks like you're going into like a cheap restaurant.
It really does. A cheap restaurant in New York, mob money's running through it. Anyway,
exactly.
So the context is this. Elon Musk is working for Trump. They're trying to efficientize the government. They're not doing the greatest job so far. However, because now everybody hates Elon and Tesla stock is tanking and the sales have been a complete disaster, Trump's out there saying, hey, my buddy Elon makes good cars. Like, let's get some cars. And so Trump reportedly bought a Tesla. Is that true?
He has said that he would buy a Tesla. He said in a Truth Social, which is his social media platform, that it was what people were doing was illegal to denigrate the Tesla brand. Yeah. And that he would do a press release. I personally prefer the photo that also had a Cybertruck. But
do you know on Truth Social, when you retweet something, do you know what it's called? It's called a retruth.
Christ on a rope.
Whatever. Anyway, I misspoke that it's not his social media platform. There's another one.
The point is this. He's out there in front of some sort of Model S, car designed in 2012, during another great Republican president, Barack Obama.
Want to be clear?
No, I'm kidding. But
facelifted once.
That's what the hardcore libs think. And he's out there trying to tell people to buy a Tesla. I didn't read a lot of the news stories about this because the whole thing seemed kind of insane, but also like on Trump's brand. People are freaking out, and I'm like,
do you remember that from his first term, that photo of, I think it was Ivanka Trump with the Goya beans?
Yeah.
Same energy.
And the My Pillow guy?
I think it was the McDonald's he bought for that's more of what this feels like to me. That's the best one.
All right, here's what we're talking about. Tesla's always been really linked to Elon Musk. That made it really popular for a long time. Yeah. Now that Elon Musk has become very much associated with, let's call it conservative, maybe the alt-right, depending on how you want to view it, that's impacted the brand. Yeah. Tesla market cap, so how much the brand is worth, has about halved over the last month. Yeah. It was, it's now worth still just shy of $800 billion. It was worth about twice that.
Still more than all the other car companies put together, but...
that's not true, but it's not fairly precipitous drop. Yeah, it is. Which is why I think there's been some... President Trump had this photo op to try to support Elon's brand. we talked a lot last week about kind of where Tesla is at, and I think that still holds true. Tesla stock is up today, 7%.
Yeah, but it was down 50%. It's going on crazy rides because the market's going on crazy rides because of the whole
Trump
tariff situation. But I will tell you, it's an interesting situation. Tesla is no longer, I mean, we talked about this last week, but to really hammer the point home, the fact that the president is out there shilling Teslas in front of the White House, that ain't a great look for this brand that formerly relied solely on like word of mouth and Elon's tweets to sell cars. Every story I read is that sales numbers continue to decline significantly.
They're in trouble with the Canadian government right now because of some tax credit.
Oh boy.
I thought that was odd.
Behavior.
I thought that was odd. Two dealers sold 5,000 cars. Let me tell you something. Don't look too close at BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year. Or any brand, honestly.
Yeah.
Because we used to punch cars. You know, the dealers would punch cars as service loaners or whatever to get some sales done. Maybe the dealer didn't need 5,000 service loaners, but the point remains. The car business has there are some shady moments in the car business, okay? This isn't one of them. It's in the bright sunlight.
Nice. It's kind of underneath an awning.
Anyway, regardless, the main focus of this story is that Elon has probably hurt both his own personal brand and undoubtedly Tesla's brand by getting involved in the government. Politics are tough regardless of how you want to go into it. And if you want, this is a good example of if you want to sell things, you probably shouldn't get political. You know, the conservatives did this whole go woke, go broke thing and boycotted stuff, which was effective. This is kind of the same thing in the opposite direction. Maybe not as organized, but a lot of people are sitting around saying, I don't want to be a part of this. And a lot of stockholders are just anxious because they don't know where this is going to go and if it's going to get worse. And it ain't pretty right now.
And if you're a stockholder, especially a major one, you're responding both to sales declining quickly.
Yeah.
The EV market being iffy in general, and then the political part on top of sales declining, which has just accelerated.
Which is probably the biggest uncertainty for investors. Like, is there going to be another Elon Musk, Hitler moment? Whether or not you agree with what happened, like the public perception was not great that came out of that, and it's not great for the brand.
Of course, the market cap is still 20x what Ford's is.
But what does Ford have really? The tempo? All right, give us our next news story.
The tempo. All right, yes. All right. So switching topics completely. There's a new Morgan. Now, you might look at this vehicle and think, wow, that looks a hell of a lot like the old Morgan, as all Morgans do.
But it has 3 windshield wipers?
Yes. That is something that they're into. So this is the Morgan Super Sports, and they're saying it's a ground-up new development, new chassis, new fully aluminum body, etc. No wood. Body. I know that's what you're thinking.
Is
you
that
think
not
there would
wood
be
in
wood?
the photo?
He doesn't know.
There's no wood. It is aluminium. And so, as they like to say. But there are a couple of interesting things. One is it comes with this hardtop, which evidently is something they haven't come with in the past. They were very proud of this, made like a huge deal of it. Again, this is
because I think the previous ones, the way to get a hardtop was you had to get the coupe.
Well, they would do or they would do an aftermarket. They would sell you a third-party one from them, but they wouldn't build themselves. Well, this one they built themselves.
The 5 people that work in Morgan must be so proud.
Right. Tell us the most important part.
Well, the most important part really is how much it weighs.
I was going to say the BMW powertrain
and automatic transmission, but
there are a couple different versions. So the Super Sport is powered by the B58 6-cylinder, which everybody loves. And that's what people say. The B58.
Wait, that's the motor in the X3 M40.
That's the
one in the Ineos Grenadier.
6-cylinder engine. Yes, okay. It's like one of the most ubiquitous engines.
It's a powerful engine for a car that doesn't weigh anything.
Well, yes, because it weighs wet 2,579 pounds.
Whoa! Wow.
Wet. Crazy lightweight. But again, it's because Morgan is such a low volume manufacturer, they don't have to comply with certain regulations. And so they're able to make these cars.
So you'll die in one.
How? Well, yes, of course. You die in any car. But it does 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, 165 mile an hour top speed. Not huge numbers, but for Morgan.
Tell us about the transmission.
Yeah. Automatic only.
They're not doing a stick at all?
Not doing a manual for this.
8-speed CF or what?
Isn't the whole point of this car that it's the type of people buying this are like old school analog
They're
type
getting
dudes?
old school analog kind of type of dudes are getting older.
Yeah, but why would you buy one of these if you can't get a manual?
I agree. It's about the experience.
Isn't the whole thing about the experience? Like, I could get a Cayman anywhere.
Why did people swap automatics into first-gen Vipers? Because they can't drive a manual anymore.
Who does automatics?
There are a few. There are
7, and 5 of them are for drag racing, and 2 of them are for amputees. It's got nothing to do with this.
Right. He's over here saying they're all automatics. Anyway, people is swapping them in an afternoon with a couple of cold ones. But the thing,
insane.
They're saying they're going to try, I would imagine, to produce 850 of these a year, and they only produce about or they're going to produce 200 a year. They only produce 850 cars total a year.
Well, I mean, we don't know what else in their lineup. So that's
I do. So they're doing this. They also are doing a 4-cylinder version too. And guess which one we're getting in the United States? The 4-cylinder.
The V8.
We're not getting the 6-cylinder. They're not going to sell it in the US, at least for now.
I can't believe they're even going to attempt to sell this here at all.
They are trying. They spent millions and millions to get the 4-cylinder one compliant with U.S. regulations.
But the B58 sold here in 30 trillion cars.
I understand, but evidently they're struggling to do it.
4-cylinder?
What do you mean?
What engine is in a 4-cylinder?
Also BMW engine.
Oh, okay.
BMW turbocharged 4-cylinder. So
he doesn't know that.
I don't know. The current
it's the one
price
BMW
of it,
engine code he doesn't know.
Who gives a
I don't
care? He doesn't get into. He doesn't get into 4.
I don't really.
He doesn't get into 4-cylinders.
No, but anyway, so the price if it were to be sold in the U.S. would be $131,000.
$131 US for a 4-cylinder BMW powered automatic car. I could get a Z4 for like 60.
For this one, it will be less. For this one, if it were to sell here, that's what they're saying. If they get it here, that's what it will sell for. That's like equivalent it will sell in the UK.
Inexplicable how much I would not buy this car. Inexplicable. Yeah. If it had 3 pedals and a 6-cylinder, and by 6-cylinder I mean turbo V8, I would consider it, but I don't.
So you consider the previous Super Sport is what you're saying?
Oh yeah, and as you know, I went to the dealer several times, drove them, ultimately landed on a competitor. Yeah. Okay, move on to the next news story. This is not really a news story. 200 cars a year.
Yes. So Porsche has, we've been saying that a lot of manufacturers are rolling back development. Well, Porsche, that doesn't mean they've stopped.
No,
Porsche was recently spotted testing their EV Cayenne coupe. So, like, yes, they might be saying that they are going to be making gasoline engines for a long time. It does not mean that development has stopped on EVs. I've told everybody that although we're seeing this, it's a stopgap. EVs seem to be the way things are going, but right now they're just not there yet. And it seems that Porsche is committing to that with their more utilitarian vehicles.
I'm excited for this to look identical to the current Cayenne.
No, if that's it, it's not going to look identical to the current Cayenne. I don't know what this is. I guess the non-coupe. But if that's what it is, then it's not going to look like the Cayenne.
But somehow it will, because every Cayenne has looked identical.
The Macan EV looks like the Macan.
No, the Macan EV looks
separate. But the more of them I see, the more I'm like, that doesn't look any. They've somehow made a car that both simultaneously looks like the car and doesn't.
Which is impressive.
Which is also the new G-Wagon. I remember when they revealed the G-Wagon in 18, I was like, that looks just like the old one. And now whenever I see one, I'm like, that doesn't look a thing like the old one.
What are you thinking?
You can't tell the G-Wagon apart
from... Of course I can.
That's what I'm saying.
I can.
You can.
My wife cannot.
Okay. All right.
I'm just being honest.
This is a lot of news to digest, folks. I hope you figured it all out.
Right. There's one more piece of news.
Oh, God.
This one I like. So, again, Formula One starts this weekend. There's a lot of hype building up to, and one of the things is that Lewis Hamilton posted a video today on his Instagram. We filmed this today on his Instagram. And it's on YouTube, too, where Paramount Pictures spliced him into the Ferris Bueller movie, like, perfectly. Wow. He was a big fan of the movie. It's my favorite movie.
Oh, he's the garage attendant?
He's the garage attendant, yeah. And so he does the whole thing. He says, do you speak English? He goes, what country do you think this is? And like does that whole thing and drives off in the car. And they did,
zoom up to where he drives off in the car.
They did a masterful job of it. But here's him look how perfect that is.
Yeah. He's talking
to Cameron and he's getting in the car and Cameron goes,
remember when Cameron crashed that Rivian a couple of weeks ago? Months ago?
You don't have anything to worry about. I'm a professional.
Keep going. Arrow us forward here. There he takes the car off. Let's see him do the jump, or do they not do it?
They do the jump, and they did the jump with the actor who plays.
Oh, look at it.
So there it goes, taking off.
Oh,
so
man,
cool.
Look at that. Go back one. Look, pause it.
I know it's not.
Saab 900.
Yep.
Look at this Chicago in the 88 Chrysler Laser
Prism.
There's a photo.
Yeah.
And imagine seeing a long wheelbase California Spider driving down the street.
Fake or not, yeah, exactly. Imagine, but yep. Here's the legendary scene where they're doing the jump, and they.
So Lewis Hamilton, Ferrari wanted to be part of this. The car was famously a fake.
Yeah, exactly. But they wanted. Yeah,
they were cool with it.
Yeah, exactly. They wanted him to be in it, and Lewis is passionate about it. So it's a fun way for them to like get kind of hyped up for the weekend, I think. But it's masterfully done.
Yeah.
Like really, really well
When
done.
I think about Ferrari, I think about cease and desist letters to somebody that tries
to do this.
But they might have a sense of humor.
But no, Lewis Hamilton comes to the team, and guess what? He can do whatever he wants.
Including wear that cloak and live in Enzo's house. Okay. Yep. Time for the Talk Cars segment. The Talk Cars segment, of course, is brought to you by Filippo's Mug. Filippo's Mug.
It was full. It is now
cleaned.
empty.
If it's cleaned between every single coffee,
if it was him though,
he leaves them on his desk. They coagulate.
Okay, I want to talk about something. Last week we got a question. What are your bad takes? And I want to give you a take that is great that everyone's going to hate.
Oh, I surprisingly agree with this take.
Okay, the take is as follows. Before we move on, let me tell you about Quince. Spring is here, which means my travel itch is back. Traveling comfortably can be the difference between having a good vacation or a bad one, and I'm preparing for my next trip with a first-class quality suitcase and an economy price tag from Quince. This year, I'm treating myself to the luxury upgrades I've been searching for with Quince's high-quality travel essentials at fair prices. Some examples include lightweight shirts and shorts from $30, pants for any occasion, and comfortable lounge sets. Plus, Quince has premium luggage options and durable duffel bags to carry it all. The best part? All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the costs of the middleman and passes the savings directly on to us. And Quince only works with factories that offer a safe, ethical, responsible manufacturing practice and premium fabrics and finishes, which is great. I'll be packing away my Quince sweaters for next winter, and I really can't wait for my carry-on bag to arrive for my trips this year. The colors available are unique and special, and bag is absolutely perfect for a comfortable travel experience. For your next trip, treat yourself to the luxe upgrades you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/Doug for 365-day returns, plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/Doug to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Doug. It is unbelievable how often I hear from people that they want a 70 Series Toyota Land Cruiser. This is like the rallying cry of like American, like 22-year-old car enthusiast who thinks he knows about analog. You know, this is like, are we on a 70 Series? They give us all this stuff. It's so expensive with all this tech. We just want a 70 Series. No, you don't. You want a 4Runner. That's my
Well,
Here's where the take falls apart.
Where does it take fall apart?
Kennan, tell him.
well, I want a 70 series.
Okay, why?
Because I drove them for a month in Southern Africa.
why?
I drove it really hard because it was reliable, simple, and easy.
Simple.
Oh,
Go to
that's
the
wrong
if
reason.
you can, why don't you pull up the Australian pricing of the 70 Series? I'm just kind of curious what it costs.
Australian price?
Well,
oh, yeah,
that's where people talk about them coming from. I don't know. You want to look up Venezuelan pricing? Can you read Venezuelan? You know, everybody always is like, the 70 Series should be sold in America because it's this bare bones work truck, and it'd be so cool to just have only the basics. It's a cheap 30 grand work truck. This truck is not 30 grand in any market where it is conceptualized or sold.
How do they charge that much?
Because that's what it costs to make a vehicle. The Americans have this concept that we're getting screwed on 70 Series Land Cruisers because they're selling them for $14,000 in other markets. They are tremendously expensive cars overseas. They cost the same as a 4Runner. And by the way, you know what the 4Runner is? Durable, simple, and reliable.
I can fix
like it always has been.
I can fix that with a hammer. You can't fix a
You
4Runner.
a fifth gen 4Runner with halogen headlights and no screen. You can fix it. You can fix it with a hammer. You can fix it by looking at it and asking it nicely to be fixed.
There's a reason when I was out there, all I saw on the road, were
because they don't have the 4Runner.
They don't have the 4Runner.
That's the reason. The 4Runner is sold here, and everybody's like, we want the 70 Series. Okay, fine. You want the 70 Series? To get this to comply with U.S. regs would add another 10 grand to the price. But let's pretend it didn't even have to comply. You're spending, what was it, 52 grand? Yeah. For a worse vehicle. Pull up a picture of a 70 Series interior. You know this doesn't have side airbags. Yeah. This is not a safe or rational car.
A 4Runner is objectively a better vehicle, but
it is objectively better in every single way. Look at this one. Click on this one. Look at this. This is like, and everybody's like, it's old school. I love old school. Okay, well, spend 20% more for a worse car. No one would actually do it. That's the thing about the 70s.
Here's what I think it reveals. It reveals that people want cars that look rugged and simple and are maybe okay at some price point, accepting like a very simple interior. Which is also why
no one would buy this car.
Of course not. Which is also why the Jimny is as popular as it is. It's like, it kind of did that, right? Simple interior,
is more
simple interior,
because
that's what people actually think this is. They're wrong about what it is.
They're wrong about what it is.
That's what they think it is.
If you talk to any American, if you go communities of people who just sort of get their news from word of mouth, they will tell you that Toyota is screwing us by not offering a Land Cruiser in the U.S. that is bare bones and $30,000. The truth of the matter is they are giving us the 4Runner, which is a gift, because if they were giving us this instead, it would be thousands of dollars more. By the way, none of the people who are complaining about this would ever buy any of these vehicles new. And the 70 series is worse.
But image matters so much. And I think this reveals that people want the image. People want to feel like they're in Safari.
And you know what?
Want to feel that way.
Anybody who loves the 70 series, if they want to talk image, let's talk image. Let's admit that what they really want is the image of a basic off-roader.
And that's why you buy an Ineos Grenadier.
The reason why, I mean, look, if I could get, the 70 series are also important, but you can get an older
now you can.
series. It's the difference was the reason why I genuinely there are a lot of reasons why I haven't genuinely pursued it, but the big one is like I remember driving around in Africa looking at animals like way out in the savannah. I poured water up to the windshield. I did all the things you do with a Land Cruiser. What am I going to do here? Drive around the desert and look at guys and raptors like crashing? Like it's not the same. Like the point was it made sense in the context where I wanted to use it, which is in Africa.
You know what you could get? A 4Runner can do both.
Why don't
for less money?
Yeah, but the 70 series is just straight up cooler. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's
because
an
we can't
play. And so I think it's finally time for all the people who talk about the bare bones 70 series, how great it is, to finally admit, and you can admit it in the comments, that what you really want is the image of a 70 series. You don't actually want the bare bones truck. You don't actually want the stripped down interior. You want something that looks like you're a mountain man.
Yes, of course.
Well, Mike, it's a Savannah man, but
why do you think people make? I'm looking at a first-gen Cayenne Trans-Siberia. Why do people make replicas of that? Because what they want is the image of a Trans-Siberia.
What people talk about is they want a basic car they can work on with a hammer. That's what they say.
Of course, they would never work on
what they actually want is not that.
Yes,
because they were
100%.
given that in the form of the 5th Gen 4Runner. By the way, a lot of those people did buy it. There are people who realized
it was
this.
for sale for 15 years. Yeah.
The point is, the 70 series is absolutely not the vehicle you want. You want a 4Runner, and you should go get one, new or old, because they're both great.
Or save your money, just go on an African vacation and rent a 70 series. Like I didn't have the true experience.
That is how you save your money. Do it. Go to Africa for 3 weeks. Go on safari.
You don't need a car.
$25,000.
When you come back, you walk.
You have a car already. If you want to have the 70 series experience, go do it out there.
If you ever worry
sell your car and spend 2 weeks in Africa, that is Kennan's top tip for the day.
That's my hot take.
Okay, we have a couple more car segments we got to get through, starting with the Cars and Bids adventure cars.
Yes.
Go to them, please.
Tell
us about them.
A Cayenne Turbo and a E39 M5 that are both live on Cars and Bids. That are the cars that you saw us drive in our little Desert Adventure series.
Okay, so the Desert Adventure series we did months ago.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're only selling these cars now. They're on the site. You can buy them, and they're available. They're sitting right over there.
No reserve.
They're no reserve. We want them out of here.
We want them out of here. I also want to be really clear. These are cars that we drove fairly long distances that also have a lot of flaws. I want to just be really transparent about that.
Oh, yeah.
Doug raced them in the desert.
I went through the E39 myself and wrote this list of flaws. I'm sure there are other ones that I can probably find too.
Wow. Okay, can we find the most ridiculous?
Yeah, the center support bearing clinking on driveway is quite a sentence.
Yeah, it's
center support bearing clinking on driveway.
Yep, center support bearing is a part that supports the drive shaft and is worn, and it clinks when it fails.
How about wear on interior touch points?
That's just
general.
Well, that's just general. Some of these are general ones that we normally put in them, and there's wear on the steering wheel, there's wear on the seats, there's wear on the shifter, there's wear,
good news that there's various chips and scratches throughout, but especially on the driver's side front fender. Why, Doug?
Because a smooth-brained, knuckle-dragging troglodyte put his shoes on there. It wasn't Matt. It was you.
I stood on one of the cars or all the cars.
I have a photograph of.
Doesn't matter.
I lost my mind.
You
struck
went
him.
over a TV with
Yeah, he did.
You drove over a TV with this car.
At a quarter of a mile an hour.
I didn't drive over a TV with it.
It was a flat screen that was in a place that you decided to film.
What's next, Kennan? You gonna run over a whole movie theater with it?
Good one.
If you want either of the cars, and please go watch the video so you see how they perform. You see that the Cayenne won a lot of challenges.
I will say
that the M5 won none. You can go watch all that and then go bed and buy.
Yes, and Philippe.
And by the way,
plastic toy.
Cayenne fuel gauge doesn't work. Look, a lot of stuff's broken. We bought these cars because we had a filming schedule and we had to buy them like the weekend before. You don't go thinking that because we had these cars, there's something.
No, we want to be very clear.
But you can have a part of filming history. Of video history.
Yep.
Well.
Yeah. Okay, Kennan, tell us about Amelia Island.
Yes, so I went to the Amelia en Concours d'Elegance, or the Amelia as it's known, and it got rained out on Sunday. They had to push everything forward to Saturday. So
the main event got rained out?
Yes, I mean, and it was a deluge. It was a ton of rain. So it's a good thing they moved it. There were delahays there. It has lost the magic from when it once was, in my opinion. Like, it feels a lot more corporatized. It feels like not as When I used to go, it was like there was always a sense of like it was really, really special. And it was also like you could walk up to anybody and everybody had their guard down. It wasn't Pebble Beach, where it is really cutthroat and really strict, and there's a lot of pressure for your car to succeed because you've spent millions of dollars getting it prepared. And the people have done the same thing with these cars, but it's a little bit more relaxed. It used to be the first Concours event of the year and of the season, and like people were really, really excited. This just it did not feel that way this time around. And it hasn't for the last 3. And the cars, the other issue is that there's now another event that is the week that precedes it called MODA. And that has split audiences between people. They either have to pick to go to one or the other, or they have to stay in Florida the entire time. I talked to somebody who went there who's a dealer who we know, Matt Ivanhoe, went to MODA because he has to for business, had to go back to his house to celebrate his daughter's birthday, went back to Amelia Island, and then back to his house again.
That seems like better.
In Connecticut.
Yeah, that sounds like a normal week.
So what do we do?
It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, a normal week, but for the same thing.
Yeah, no, it's a lot.
So what are you going to do?
Well, I have heard rumblings that one of the auctions may or may not be moving to MODA next year. And if that is true, then Amelia Island is done for me. I won't go back.
I haven't been to a million years, but God, I loved it. It was wonderful.
Yeah, you were there when it was still good. I saw you wearing a suit.
Whoa.
Rare.
I judged an event.
I've seen Doug wearing a suit twice.
My wedding was the other time.
My wedding was the other time.
That was a nice day.
Yeah.
It was in Baltimore. It was hot.
I made him buy it. Sent him a link. It is.
I had him bring a tie to our friend Sam. I had to bring him a spare tie because I knew he would forget for our friend Sam's wedding.
Well, forget. I mean, who wears a tie to a wedding? Anyway, the point, it's not a funeral.
It was pink. I did it on
God's
purpose.
sake. Anyway, the point is, Amelia, did you see cars? You see a 911 GT1?
I did see a competition GT1 that was there.
I want to see a road car.
Yeah.
What was your favorite car that you saw?
I finally have seen one. I've waited to check this car for a long time, but I finally saw a Sterling Moss.
An SLR Sterling
Moss. Finally.
Open roof.
Open roof.
That wasn't being driven around in the deluge.
Right.
Yep, exactly. No, that thing was on a truck and long gone by the time the rain came, as most cars were. But it was cool to see the doors go up and the guy like drive it to. It won an award. It drove up to an accepted award and stuff like that. There was a
What award?
I don't know.
Weirdest car.
Yes, most obscure Mercedes, probably. But I did see a low body Countach. There were some things that were cool, but like it just
Not enough.
Not enough. The showing was not nearly as good as it has been in the past.
Really?
And because the Cars and Coffee event, which is what I like to see, a lot of people bring their own cars, and you pay to do this, by the way. That event just got straight up canceled. And so it was Radwood was there, and so you got to do that, which was cool. And one of our coworkers actually won an award with her Mitsubishi FTO, which was sick. But the Cars and Coffee event didn't happen. So like,
yeah.
And it just like it gets more and more expensive every year, and it just is more and more tied down, and there's more red tape around it. And this happens with most events, to be honest with you. But it was like palpable compared to where I started. This is my 8th one, and so like it was better.
That's sad.
That's how I feel about it, and I was not alone in that feeling.
Well, I got to go back and decide for myself.
Or go to the other.
Or getting you to fly. I did have a couple.
I'm not going to do it.
I also will say thank you to everybody who came up and like said hello. It was really nice. People really like listening to the podcast, and thank you, Daniel, for the old fashioned. That was very kind. But it's always nice to run into people. I like going because I know people in the industry.
Yeah, you actually enjoy talking.
Do people come up to you and ask you 395 questions?
Sometimes, yeah. But people also, there are the ones people have asked about both of you. My line with you was, I would have brought Doug, but he doesn't fit very well into my luggage, so I couldn't bring him to this one.
What a line.
How sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't travel. Okay, we got to do our last Talk Car segment, which is the photo shoot. Can you go to it? Now, we talked about this last week. We took my cars out to the beach for a photo shoot, and we drove them on the beach, which was odd. I want to just shout out the photographer, Frank.
Yep.
Frank takes a lot of pictures of the cars on Cars and Bids, and he took these pictures.
Garage.
His Instagram is The Photographer's Garage, and he is one of the greatest living automotive photographers.
Oh.
One of the great. I have 3. I got Alex Penfold, Robert Grubbs, who's also around here and took up photos of my cars and we posted on Instagram, and then Frank. Frank is a genius, as you can see from this photo. Now, Filippo
It's not
put
my
the Ford
favorite
GT.
photo that he took.
Go to the next one. Look at that G-Wagon. There, we took the G-Wagon out, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Probably. There's just the sports cars.
This is real, Filippo.
This is real. I was there.
Filippo was there. We took these pictures in Meth Central.
It's where I ran over the TV. Surprise.
Yeah. Needless to say, we didn't run over any TVs on this day. No, did we not. Go to the last picture. There's some good stuff here. There's a lot of different angles and shots and shoots, but there's some good stuff here. And Frank, a huge, huge shout out to Frank, one of the most gifted photographers this side of a camera. Go back to
the
go back
side
to
of a
the first one.
DSLR.
To the other one. Man,
There's one that's slightly different that I
no,
like
this
better.
is
but
better
it's okay.
because the G is. Look, this is a great image.
It's a great image.
This is Frank's. This is like the when you think of Frank and dream of Frank, this is what you think his talents will be used for.
Am I being blamed for parking the Ford GT too far forward?
No, because
Good.
there's other angles where the GT is more
perfect.
visible, like the next one. The next one, it's fully visible.
Yeah.
I like the shot with the G cab because it adds a little humor to the whole thing.
It does.
I want to take a moment to tell you about another podcast you should absolutely check out, Drive with Jim Farley. Ford CEO Jim Farley talks to some of his favorite people about what they drive and what drives them to succeed. He has great guests on the show, like the British racing driver Vicky Butler Henderson and one of my favorite people, Jay Leno. I've checked out a few episodes of Drive with Jim Farley, and I really love to hear his insights. There was a time when we only got to hear from automotive CEOs and press quotes and carefully worded corporate statements, but Jim Farley's podcast is personal, and it really shows his passion for cars, which is really cool. And this is a podcast I'm certainly going to keep in my listening routine. Click the link in the description box to listen to Drive with Jim Farley today. Okay, we got to talk market report. Market report. The market report is brought to you by the Cars and Bids app. To download it, you do something. We don't have enough time to tell you. I don't know what you do. We got to move on. Okay, okay, we got to talk F355. Pull it up, folks.
Yes.
I'm not even talking about closed auctions today because there's two cars that we have to talk about. This is one of the great auctions we've ever run.
Yep.
Someone submits this to us. This is a Euro Market F355 GTS stick, which is one of the most desirable Ferraris like in the recent years. It has had a huge come up.
Well, not only that, it's blue.
It's blue. It's an unusual color. It's a very special color. So here we have all the great benefits. Euro Market 355 GTS, the most desirable body style, stick, gated manual, blue. I mean, it's like everything you want. However... This car has a Mississippi flood title.
Yeah.
And it's located in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And so God knows. And it's no reserve, by the way. And I think this is one of the most exciting auctions we've ever run in our entire history of running auctions.
Such a desirable car.
Who knows what's going to happen?
With a flood type.
I commented, I think this auction has everything. It's got this gated manual Ferrari special color GTS, flood title, no reserve. Mississippi is involved. This is it.
This is it. This is it.
This is it. Now, seller claims car runs. I mean, he drives. He's got videos. Who knows? You know, I mean, it was in a flood. He replaced the fuse box. He said that's all it needed. Who knows? There's no pictures of it flooded. There's no accounting of it. Generally speaking, flooded cars, the person who owns it wants it totaled out immediately because they don't want to screw with that stuff.
Right.
It either gives the opportunity for an amazing bargain to someone or a lifetime of headaches. And that's the dice roll you're making with this car, and I love it.
Well, an F355, as I can attest, is a lifetime of headaches, regardless of whether it's perfect or not. But this is a really compelling opportunity to own what is a really desirable car.
We Googled the VIN, and there's pictures from like the insurance auction after it dried out.
It's hard.
It doesn't look like it had been underwater. Certainly the whole car wasn't. The fuse box was replaced, which is in the passenger footwell, low in the car. Like it could have gotten only a foot of water and damaged that. Even then, we felt the carpets didn't look like they had been submerged. But
if you're the owner of a 355 that gets any amount of water, I would also want to just get the insurance.
This is your opportunity to get a retail payout for the car.
Right. Yes. Unless you have Doug do a video on yours, that is your opportunity.
This is a complete variable car, but I gotta say, I'm sitting there thinking, I want this thing. Like, I want to roll the dice. I said it to Hoovie, and I was like, dude, you got to buy this because
Hoovie, if you're watching,
this is you. This is just you. Like, this is the best version of this really cool and special car, but also the worst version. Like, nobody knows, and this is you, Hoovie. You got to buy this thing. Totally. And I see the high bid is $69,420, and so maybe I assume Hoovie is the high bidder at the current moment.
Are you going to bid?
I'm not going to bid.
Current bid is not Hoovie, but he's missing out.
I told Hoovie to get in on this. He better. Anyway.
Quite a desirable car.
Where do you think this ends up? I mean, nice ones, non-flood, are 200, 250.
For
Euros.
Euros are a little less, but but they aren't often blue.
But also, people don't care as much about GTSs when it comes to Euros because finding a stick GTS is hard enough. The Euro thing is like less of a deal now, especially because they're 25 and you can drive them anywhere. Nobody, California,
except
Montana.
California, yeah.
You Montana, nobody cares.
Right. But I don't know. I still get a feeling. I was saying yesterday that I expect it brings in the 80s.
Oh my God, I'd buy it.
I'm saying it brings in the hundreds now. I think it's going to crest 100,000.
I think because it's such an unknown though.
I know, exactly. But like a good one is 2.5 times more expensive.
Right. And you don't get blue.
And you don't get blue. So like, I suspect
it's a driver. You ever wanted to drive one? You can. But here's an opportunity.
The good ones, you're also buying with some expectation of appreciation. And how long do you have to wait for a flex title card to appreciate at the same time?
Is a stick-gated GTS that at 250 really got a lot of legs? I mean,
there just aren't that. A lot of them are burned to the ground. One, two.
Maybe if there's like water.
They aren't common. Like the Bruinetta, which is the most beautiful, we can agree, and the Spider are the least desirable, but the most accessible. They built the most of them. They're around. GTSs just aren't common.
Gated GTS in a cool color. I'm telling you, this has it all. This is one of the most interesting auctions you've ever run. If you follow cars like this, it's very interesting. Now, on the subject of Ferraris,
yes. Now, if you want, so this one, a driver. You want one that's a minter? There's another one that we have on the site that is unbelievable. So I flew to Dallas to see this car.
And if you get Kennan to fly to Texas, you're like,
if I'm not seeing my relatives, you're asking a lot. And so this car, 1982 3.8 GTSi. Now you recently drove a 1982 3.8 GTSi. Wonderful little car to drive. Yours had like tons of miles. A driver, real driver. This one, I cannot describe to you how perfect this car was.
Have you looked at the pictures?
No,
go to the interior pictures. I mean, it's beautiful on the outside. It should be mentioned. It's only 1,900 miles.
Yeah, so 1,000. Yeah, I think when I left it, it was 1,925 when I left it. But still, right around.
So the exterior is beautiful. The car's in perfect shape, etc. But the interior, because the thing about 308s, people are going to look at this. People who don't know that well are going to look and say, "Oh, it's a Ferrari. Of course, it's nicely kept." But the thing about 308s is a lot of them were used, and so it's very rare that you see a really nice 308 interior.
This is it.
I've never seen anything like this.
I haven't either. I've seen a lot of 308s. I mean, to your point, they built over 10,000 of these cars. It was a very successful car for Ferrari.
And it's been, for a long time, the most affordable good Ferrari. And so if you wanted to buy a good Ferrari and use it, you got a 308. And then the seats got creased. Not
this one. Like you know how picky I am. Everybody knows that. I went around this car with a magnifying glass looking for stuff. And I'm not just saying this because it's on the site. I'm saying this like as an academic. I could not find anything that was wrong with it.
Keep going. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable.
I did a video on this, which you can go and watch on the Cars and Bids YouTube channel. And a lot of people said, I can't stand the cars that aren't driven. And it's like, well, I get that too. But like the reality of this car is that like it's nice to have ones that are preserved exactly as they left the factory.
And there aren't many 308s. You know, I get when people say that about F40s because every F40 is preserved like that. I honestly think that this car is more special in a lot of ways than a regular 308 because there aren't any like this. When I had my NAS Defender, I drove the crap out of it and I off-roaded it and went through puddles and it got in the sand. But when a perfect one would come up, I would be so excited because it's like, wow, here's an example of how this car was OE. They don't exist anymore. That wasn't how people did this.
No, exactly.
It's so cool to see
this car's background is fascinating because it was owned by a guy who had a successful computer company on Long Island, donated it to the Watkins Glen Racing Museum, and it sat there forever until it was raffled off. A woman won this car for $100. And then she didn't know what to do with it because it had no miles.
When was this? When did she win it?
This was like 2007, I think 2008. I mentioned it somewhere else. I mentioned it in the listing somewhere.
So what did she do?
So here's the history. So then, or it was 2013.
13 she raffled.
So then she sold it to somebody who then sold it to the current owners, had the car for the last 10 years. But this car was also like, again, the other things about this car, real quick, just to point out, it has Classic K certification, which no 308
Very rare
has.
for a 308.
It's very expensive and hard to do because you have to go to a Classic K dealer. They take hundreds of pictures of the car. They take stuff apart to take pictures of it. They send it to the factory. If they need more pictures, you got to bring the car back. They got to do it again. And then all of that goes to the factory. They pull your file out of the archives because Ferrari has every car has a file. They pull it out, check everything against that, and only then can you get Classic K certification, which I found out Piero Ferrari still signs all of those documents himself.
Piero does?
Yeah, which this car has.
Enzo's son.
Wow.
Wild. But this car has it. It's just crazy rare on these cars. And it's genuinely, I know the driver ones are what we like normally, but I wanted to experience what the hell is this thing like new, and it was sublime.
Incredible.
It still drove great. It was still a lot of fun. It turned me on to I would definitely consider even a GTSi. It's just fun.
I will say I'm very curious where it ends up in terms of pricing. Not a lot of comps.
No, none. Like none, because It's an incredibly low, it's a really desirable version of like kind of the lowest version 308 because everybody wants a Vetterazina, the carbureted fiberglass cars, or they want a QV. They don't often gravitate toward this model, but you will not find another one that's like in this condition.
So it's the nicest one, period.
It is the nicest one.
But maybe not the most desirable.
And although I put 5 miles on it, I felt so guilty, but it was so good.
I know. Same with the Intimidator Monte Carlo.
Oh, yes, I also put 3 miles on that.
I drove that around and I was like, oh my God.
So good.
And I actually have to take it back outside because I forgot to shoot B-roll. And I'm like, oh God, I got to put 4 more miles on it. And by 4, I mean 1. Or maybe I'll shoot in the alley. Last thing I want to, this is an incredible car. The other one is, dude. I want to talk 981 because you get that on here and we should discuss it. Pull up, just type in 981.
981, either go for
No, just type in 981 total because it's interesting to look at.
All right, 986 Boxsters, which is the first generation Boxster, are 7 to 12 grand.
Yeah.
Like the nicest ones. I have long hoped that the 981 Boxsters, which is like the most modern pre-4-cylinder Boxster, would come down in price.
Yeah.
And they haven't.
It is. I disagree with your take on this. Go back up. Go back
Not
up.
enough.
No. To that black one's 23.
I know. That was a specific example, but that's the lowest one we've sold.
Super base wheels.
What's a yeah, it's Nicki Minaj. Oh, 114. Okay.
And there was some story there. I can't remember what it was.
This is what happens to Porsches. They depreciate slowly.
It's not depreciate. I know, but I want it to depreciate quickly. I want one. Because I want one, and I feel like it should depreciate faster than it is depreciating.
The thing about it is, here's the thing about it. There's a couple reasons it's not gonna. Number one,
I know.
The Turbo Flat 4 was not more desirable.
The 718 Boxsters came right after.
Number two, it's a pretty modern car.
I know.
The tech is pretty
That's why I
modern,
want
so
it.
there's still desirability. And number three, like 987.2s aren't really losing a lot of value either. Like there's not a lot of room for this thing to decline much.
Floor.
Annoying.
It's just, but the thing,
depreciate.
For the 19th time,
1000th time.
the whole the benefit of a car that isn't
depreciate.
depreciating quickly is that you can buy it and sell it without losing much money in it.
Filippo.
No,
He only thinks about purchase price.
Only thing, yeah.
He only thinks about purchase price. Something could be 10 grand and he loses the whole thing. And he's like, yeah, but it was only 10 grand. Meanwhile, I spent $1 million on a car, sell it for $1 million, lose nothing, in a better position. And Filippo's over here like, yeah, but you had to spend $1 million. It wasn't spent.
Well, there's an opportunity cost that you're not mentioning.
You lost the 10 grand.
I've never lost 10 grand.
Would you just buy the car?
I maybe eventually. I just want it to be a little bit cheaper than they are. For a little while, they were falling right after COVID. Like in the last 2 years, they've been falling. They haven't kept going.
I am actually doing a video on best performance car bargains right now, and I'm putting this car on the list.
With the
because I think if look at the last two, go back, look at the last two.
PDK.
Both around 30. They're PDK, but PDK is a great transmission.
I know, but I want a manual.
And manuals are not dramatically more expensive. If you look,
10 grand.
click on lowest price.
10 grand.
That one's $23,000.
Oh, that one was there's a
Click on
23rd
lowest price. The manuals are selling $23,000. There's one for $23,500. There's one for $25,000. They're not dramatically more because the market likes PDK. It doesn't love PDK the same way it loves a manual, but these cars are not that much more expensive. That's the color, by the way. Put good wheels on that car.
I know. I regretted not bidding on that
red
car.
top. That is the dream. That is the launch spec.
Very close to bidding on that car.
Good Lord.
I decided that the red steering wheel was a bit much for me, but I came really close.
No, this is the dream.
I know people like that.
When I worked at Porsche, I ordered one just like this.
And a red top.
Yeah.
This was the launch color.
Like you said, yeah. But
the point is,
maybe Kennan and I drove a 981 Boxster
for the money
base tip, and it was the chassis was so good.
Chassis so good.
Yep.
For the money, this is a really desirable car.
I dream of
but I want it to be like 20.
The Spider's great, but
25.
a regular is pretty good too.
They could get an S.
Okay,
we need an S,
we have to move on to questions. We have to. The question segment today is very good because I've decided to stop answering only the highest ordered questions, which led to a lot of the same people asking questions the moment we posted the thing.
I think you've explained this 3 weeks in a row. We're good.
No, it's important because people still complain. And now I've only decided to answer the best questions and the most controversial.
Ooh.
Those are the ones I like the best.
You do like controversy.
And Kennan, there's some great questions this week. I have questions for all of us.
Okay.
First question from Too Slow for You. Doug, I work in the automotive industry. Someone I work with, we used to work with you at Porsche. They told me you ordered a bunch of manual Cayennes and Cayman Rs without air conditioning for the press fleet and then left the country. Country too. Is that true? You ordered a bunch of manual Cayennes and Cayman Rs without air conditioning for the press fleet and then left the company. Is that true? Well, first off, I've told this story like a bunch of times in videos. You couldn't order a manual Cayenne without air conditioning, so that is obviously not true. Although the guy who was the head of PR at the time, Nick Tork, who now works at Lucid, he ordered a manual Cayenne for the press fleet. That was his decision, and it was brilliant, and I'm glad he did it. The Cayman R incident was indeed true. I didn't leave the company right after, but I was given the order sheet, I still remember it to this day, by the PR department for the press fleet of the Cayman Rs. And they had listed all the option, it was a spreadsheet. They had listed all the option codes and listed what all the options were. But they did not list the option code for air conditioning. They just wrote air conditioning. And I, ordering the car, just went down the list of the option codes because that's how you order the car. And I just didn't, I mean, it was my mistake, but also kind of their mistake. We both owned up to it. The result was 7 Cayman Rs without air conditioning were made. Peridot, high-spec cars, PCCB, like every option but no AC. And needless to say, those cars were hard to put down. But it was not entirely my fault. It was, I think it was a 50-50 fault issue between me and the PR people. I don't know why they left off the air conditioning option code and put on every other one. And I should have read it a little closer and seen it. Probably the car shouldn't have been built like that either. Right. And also, I used to print off the build sheet and hand them to the PR people every time I'd build the car. So I think that they got the build sheet, but they probably just assumed AC was on the car, which would have been a good assumption, because typically to delete it, that was its own option and not to add it. But either way, I didn't leave the company right after. And honestly, the cars were pretty well received. The real problem was when the press fleet was done, we had to figure out where to sell them. And that's harder. But there's like 10 or 12 Peridot Cayman Rs out there, high-spec Cayman Rs with no AC. And if you have one of those, you have a former
and
press
it's
fleet.
a lighter car, which Motor Trend would have loved when they weighed it.
A lighter car, except it had every BS add-on.
But honestly, if you have one of those, reach out because we'd love to know where they are.
We sent them all to the Northwest.
Surprise,
San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. We sent them all to the Northwest. But even then, they were probably tough sells. And of course, that was 13 years ago. Cayman R was 2012.
Color is a tough sell on its own.
Yeah, I think they were all Peridot. There may have been some non-Peridot cars, but they were all no AC.
Can you pull up a car of that color?
I think we sold one.
Cayman R Peridot?
Yeah, I think we have. Nope.
No, I guess not.
Okay, next question. Oh, this is a good one from Luke 20. Oh, look at that.
I actually do love the color. For that car specifically, I love it less on Cayennes.
Yeah,
which do exist.
That looks like winter
wheels
tires.
don't look right.
These are the right wheels. Oh, look at this in front of a. It should not be there.
No, it should not be in front of.
That's the wrong car for that.
Whatever
chateau.
house of the British or I can't speak anymore. Whatever castle this is.
Okay.
Anyway.
Whatever grade 2 listed. They were like, oh, this looks cool. Okay. Luke 26 says, since we're on the theme of Kennan ranking things. Oh. Kennan, can you rank the BMW M5 generations? No problem.
Yes, I think I've done this before, but E39 is at the top.
E39's top, agreed.
Big surprise.
Yep.
Let's say F10 M5 is next.
What?
I like that.
Manual.
I approve.
Manual with that kind of performance.
I approve. No.
E28.
E60 is even more unreliable than all the other. The E60 would be the greatest, but they're ludicrously unreliable.
I'm not factoring in reliability.
You should.
I'm factoring in goodness, dude.
Yeah, and goodness includes, can you drive it?
Yeah.
You can't often drive it.
No, you can't often drive it, and it's not that great as a paperweight.
You know,
I would put it as third.
M5 would be the perfect car for someone like me who's gone for the summer, because during that quarter of the year, I can have the car fixed, and then I can use it for the remaining 3 quarters of the year.
Won't be enough. I'm telling you, dude, it won't be enough. I love the E60 M5 a lot. I've driven them a ton, but I've always considered it to be the M3 of M5. The chassis is amazing, but you have to rev that engine super high because it doesn't really have any torque.
Right.
It's all about horsepower. As a traditional M engine actually is. But the reason I like the F10 is it has the torque.
You're
it
putting
feels
the
like an
F10
M5.
second.
It's
Okay,
a stick.
fine. What's
a
next?
stick?
So E39, F10, E60.
Yeah.
I would then say probably. That's where it gets hard.
It doesn't get hard.
I don't know.
The black one with the beige interior.
Black one with a beige interior.
Oh, the E28.
Yeah, the E28. I've never driven an E28.
I have, and it should be next. It should be after the E39 on your list.
Okay, fine. We'll put E28 then. Then I would probably say.
No, he put E34 next by E34 is
default.
last, my friend.
Well,
Oh,
I know
because he doesn't
Kennan.
like the new E.
I know, Kennan.
I actually like the G90, but that's probably the last.
G90 is the newest one.
Yeah, that's the current one.
F90 is the one before.
F90 is the one.
F90 is one before it.
F90 was the.
Yes, yeah,
All right.
F90. Yeah, so
That's your list.
and
So
probably
E39.
E34. I think E34 just. Would I rather have an E34 or would I rather have an F90?
Yeah, it's a question. You would rather have an
I think I'd rather have the E34 because of the manual and it's
I know
beautiful.
you. I know you.
Here's the correct answer.
No, I
So
agree with this.
E39.
Here's the correct answer. E39, E60,
Okay.
E28.
Ooh.
No, wait. I'm sorry.
You're saying
E39, E60, F10, E28. F90. No, I'm sorry. G90.
Newest one first.
Yeah.
Above, wow.
The newest one's great. F90.
That's wrong.
Then E34.
Swap that around.
E34 is just too plastic and doesn't handle well enough.
First three
Yeah,
are
but it's got
consistent.
a great screaming straight six, and
And it looks
is
good. It's the best looking.
incredible.
Except for maybe F10.
Well,
maybe
again,
E39.
In the words of Richard Hammond, there's never been a bad M5.
It's worth pointing out, by the way, when we do these rankings, people write to us, they're so mad. We're ranking, in the great sphere of cars that's like this, we're ranking cars up here. I would take any M5 that I just mentioned over any car Filippo has ever even thought about owning.
So true.
Yeah, that's true.
Except for maybe an E34. I've thought about owning some good cars.
No, I don't think you have.
In my
Not
head,
seriously.
I've thought about
Automatic
it.
C7 doesn't count. Okay.
Maybe the problem is you're also asking me on the spot. This is the last time I'm ever going to answer a question like this, to be clear.
You did a good job, I think. I think your list is
yeah,
pretty good.
pretty good.
Because like it's very hard, and I often will then think about it and go back on it. Like the V8 Ferrari thing. I
think that-
I would so much rather have a 348 than a 488. Like
Your list here is pretty, I mean, I think
Yeah, I
it's pretty
agree.
the
legit.
F10 and the E60, I do go back and forth because the V10 is godly, especially at like
a V10.
really big speed. It is amazing.
Okay.
But anyway, they're
Move
all
on.
good. They're all good.
They're all good. Some of them are great. Move on to the next. For me, the great ones are the first four.
Yep.
Philippe already deleted the list, but E39, E60, F10, E28. Frankly, I would take any one of those four and happily drive it and love everything. And also G90 I like too. And F90 and E34. Okay, next question from OP Starfish.
Ooh.
Great username.
Do you think that modern day race cars will ever have the value of vintage racers, or are they too specialized and hard to maintain to command the 40 million plus inflation value that the vintage cars command? I don't know how you feel, but I think modern race cars will never even come close to getting to the level of vintage race cars.
I agree with that, with the exception of like Lewis Hamilton's like championship winning car, the one
but
that he won. Like
different.
There are specific chassis that will be very valuable. Will they? But like the thing about the cars from the 20th century is like that established the sport. Those were driven by legends. And so like those will always command, because regardless of what generation you're from, if you're into Formula One, you respect like Senna's MP44 or his MP45. It was Senna's. Like
I guess. However, what about Alain Prost?
those cars aren't as respectable.
But you get my point, because you're saying Lewis
But they
over
also
here.
drove a lot of.
You're talking about Lewis over here, but like in 50 years, will people care?
Well, respect to Alain Prost. He won 4 world championships. He was not the greatest driver, most successful driver in history.
Yeah,
which
but-
is Lewis Hamilton.
But my point is, you get my point. Like in 50 years, there will probably be 7 more greatest drivers in history. Does anybody even care about Vettel anymore?
Yeah, of course.
But you see what I'm saying? Like as these
the
people
Vettel
get
edition
replaced, the
finishes.
Nigel Mansell car will not. Regardless, I think we're going down a rabbit hole, because the purpose of the question is, will they have the same value? And
No.
maybe some of those will, but like it is impossible to own a modern day race car.
So there's the other thing you hit on. Yeah, old Formula One cars are really hard to take care of anyway. It's specialized equipment that, especially with the real stuff, engines, there are one engine for qualifying, one engine for racing. But yeah, the cars are so complicated now with all the hybrid systems and stuff, and that technology ages instantly. So
And they don't support it. It's not like a road car where like you go on eBay and buy parts. Like once the race car is done, they're done, because they move on to the next racing technology. They're not sitting here trying to support like gentleman racers who have these things as value appreciators in their garage.
And some teams do a better job than that. McLaren has a great historics division. Mercedes-Benz does too. They do keep spares around, do keep the cars functional and take them to things and blah, blah, blah. But like if you're going to own it, I met somebody who has like all the Ferrari FXX cars and like has all of the special Aston Martins and all that stuff. And he said the F1 cars he has are like just impossible to take care of.
And to drive, honestly. Like that's the other thing.
yeah.
Whereas you can get in a 250 GTO, it's a fairly simple car, and it is a tremendously enjoyable experience. And I think those cars will, and because they were seminal in the creation of some of these brands and sports, it will never be the same. It will never be the same. You're buying a car versus buying art.
There's two other, right. The older race cars, were based on cars, fundamentally.
Well,
some of them were cars.
Depending on the
Some of them were cars. You just drove them to the race.
Current Formula One cars.
Oh,
not that at all. And also, there's like some I think the racing drivers matters. The company was also younger. Every company that built them was younger, and you kind of it was a specific group of people, not like a nameless corporation to some extent.
Right.
Which I think is the case now.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit
of whatever.
There is a little bit of that.
That's a little different.
There is a little bit of that.
Adrian Newey,
But back in the day, Enzo was like watching the car go around Le Mans. Like if you have a 250 LM, you know that Enzo was in the stands ready to like beat up the driver if he didn't finish
Yeah.
third or better.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. If there's an accident and the driver gets killed, he goes, "Oh, it's a shame. What about the car?"
Like that was there was a special time in that period.
Every vintage Ferrari like I ever see, the road ones, it doesn't matter. It's like Enzo
licked
is in
it.
the factory. Yeah,
Enzo licked it.
Enzo licked it.
Okay. Next question from S. We'll do two more. From S, which is sad because there's a lot more to do.
It's a great question.
From S. Gallies 17. Doug, do you enjoy washing your vehicles or do you let Kennan handle that? I hate washing my cars more than anything in the entire world. I think it's one of the most boring, physically demanding, annoying, difficult, awful things. And
for me, it's nirvana.
I consider myself, I'm a driver, Kennan's a washer.
No, I mean, I drive my car all the time.
Kennan
if I was
likes
sitting
to
over there,
clean his car. I like to drive my car. Let me tell you this.
I drive my car. I drive one car, drive it every day.
We put it this way. If I got 2 hours, Kennan, he sets up a podcast and cleans. I set up a starter and drive. You know what I'm saying?
You tried so hard there. It didn't work.
It's so hard. It didn't work.
But my point is correct.
I drive my cars. I like getting them dirty and then getting them clean again. Cleaning it is very satisfying. And I do like cleaning your cars. It's fun. The Countach
Kennan
in
does clean
particular.
them sometimes, but now that my cars don't live here anymore, my cars are now at my house because I built a garage for them. And so I have to clean them now.
But
and it's incredibly annoying. Unbelievably annoying.
Well, hey, man, bring one
You ever
back.
clean a car?
Yeah, rarely.
Have you?
He taught me how to in a video. First and only time.
A great student.
Thank you. First and only time.
Okay, last two more questions, but one is very quick. Mr. B, Sean B, does Nick get any compensation for his videos on the Cars and Biz channel, or is he doing this solely for fun? Yeah, we pay him. We pay Nick.
Do we need to? I don't know. I'm not convinced.
I think he would do it without payment, but the thing I've learned about Nick is any payment helps him justify it. So like this Bentley, he's going to lose a ton of money on this Bentley, but we give him like $5,000 and he's going to lose like 20, but in his mind, he thinks that's even. Like that's what Nick thinks is even. He's like, well, I lost 20, but they gave me some cash and like, you know, it worked out. Like that's how Nick thinks.
Nick is concerned with purchase price and selling price and cost of ownership doesn't factor in.
Doesn't really factor in, which is good for his situation.
So true.
Final question from Guerreri Tom 40. In your guys' opinion, what makes a toxic car enthusiast? I think the number one answer is gatekeeping. You can't be an enthusiast unless.
I hate gatekeeping.
The most annoying thing in the world. Oh, you have an automatic, whatever. Well, that doesn't. You don't work on your own cars. You don't clean your cars. Well, then that doesn't. You don't go to sideshows. Although that, I think you shouldn't be a real enthusiast.
I do think that is very toxic. I also don't love people that think they know more than they do.
Oh, that's always a tough one at Cars
And boy,
and
you
Coffee.
can smell that in a second when someone doesn't know like exactly what they're talking about. They act like that.
Like be open to learning. You don't have to pretend that you know everything, which I think goes to gatekeeping. Like I think they were probably in relationships with people that, like friendships with people that like if you didn't know everything, you weren't a true enthusiast, so you make things
It's
up.
also a deep
But it's
yikes when
frustrating.
people try to do that to someone who does know a
does
lot.
know their stuff.
Dude, this guy's a detuned GT1 engine.
Yeah.
That was like,
and-
whoo!
Once, yeah. But that's exactly right there, Filippo. Like I certainly don't know a lot about normal cars, but like I've said before, like
Probably
I am
learn.
eager to learn more.
Yeah.
About, and today I actually went through and I memorized the entire 2001 Honda like catalog of the cars that they make.
Thank you.
Which is,
Oh, yeah? Name the 01 Hondas.
Oh, Honda. So we got Accord Coupe, Accord Sedan.
What a place
Civic
to
Coupe,
start.
Civic Sedan.
He's going alphabetically.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. But we've got the Insight. We've got the Prelude, S2000, CRV. What's the?
I think you're only missing one.
Yes,
You
I
might
know
be
what it
missing
is.
two.
It's the other SUV. No, I'm missing two.
No,
Yeah.
01? You got
Oh, one there was a
Oh,
vehicle
you're
still
missing
sold.
two. You're missing two.
Yep, I'm missing two. Shoot.
And yeah, the fact that you don't know these, one of them I understand.
Passport?
Second-
Yep. And
And
what's the Mag Daddy of 01 Honda, dude?
Oh, the Odyssey.
What Shane? Yep.
Boom, nailed it. All 10. But
Dude,
see,
what a
it's
time to be alive. The Prelude and the S2000 in the
Yeah.
lineup. The NSX
Late
Accord
Prelude.
Coupe. The NSX Accord Coupe.
Because the taillights, yeah.
You look at me like I'm crazy. Everybody knows that's the NSX Accord Coupe. Wow, what a time to be alive. The original
good-
CRV. That was the final year of the original CRV.
Good car.
It was a solid lineup of cars.
Except for the Passport,
Except
which
for the
was a
Passport.
disaster. and a
03
third.
had, no, 03 had the new Accord.
But
and
03,
like that.
you lost the Prelude.
And you had the different gen Accord. Which
Oh,
was
we
good.
liked that Accord.
But 01 was a.
had the
01
Element.
The Prelude ended in 01.
You had the
that was,
Element.
yeah. So
You had the what?
Element.
Oh, the Element was 01. The Element came out in 01.
That's what I was trying to decide.
Yeah, Element came out in 01. Honda was killing it in 01. It's like BMW in 01. 01, great year. Okay, that's our final.
The Element was revealed in 01, came out not for the 01 model.
It came out for the 02 model year? Really?
I'm pretty confident.
They usually know stuff like that. I'm losing it. I'm absolutely losing it.
Don't worry, we got you.
Toxic car enthusiast trait. Another one is those people who leave Cars and Coffee burning out like anybody cares how their Dodge Charger exhaust is different from the last F80 M3 Burble Tune exhaust. It is so annoying and unsafe and stupid and nobody cares. And invariably when people burn out like that in their Burble Tune F80 M3, everybody around me is like, what an idiot. Like no one is sitting there being like, whoa, man, how cool.
Yep.
Everybody thinks you're a loser.
And if nobody gets hurt and you don't have an accident, the only other thing it results in is the event that you're going to getting shut down.
Yeah, it reflects poorly on the event, and eventually it'll get.
It gets shut down, and it ruins it for everybody. And
but you know what? The guys who do that in G35s, they will get pulled over. One of my Instagram things that the algorithm has found for me is reels of people getting pulled over leaving Cars and Coffee. Love it. And you know what? You go to the comments and people are always like, "You deserved it," and I'm like, "Yeah," because they're always doing something really dumb, and then they're posting it and they're like, "I can't believe I got pulled over," and it's like, I can.
Yep. We all can. You're the one who can't.
I don't really care, whatever. But like in other situations, but that is a really toxic thing. Doing it right after Cars and Coffee. Nobody is impressed. Nobody thinks you're cool. Not one person.
Fully agreed.
Anything else?
Download the Cars and Bids app.
Oh, wow. Oh, we're ending the pod. Download the Cars and Bids app. I don't know how, but
go to the Apple iOS store.
We don't have enough time, Filippo. We got to cut it. Kennan, you got any parting thoughts for us? Who's going to win the Formula One race?
Oh, I'm rooting for Ferrari, please.
Who's driving the? Oh, Lewis.
Right.
And some other fella.
And Charles Leclerc, yes. You got nothing.
Is he French?
Not.
They got a French fella driving?
I don't have time for this.
Where did he learn to drive? On a Peugeot?
All right, thank you for watching. Best podcast we've ever done.
What's he, in a Citroen?
Keep going.
Goodbye, everyone.